right, guys. Today in round three, we're going to talk about Shelf of Shame. Obviously, this is a topic that we know very well in the industry. When we first started talking about this, John brought it up, and I was like, "Yeah, it's a great idea." And he was like, "Hey, let's decide. Let's talk about our games that are on our Shelf of Shame. Why are they there? How long have they been there? All those things." And I decided, I was like, you know what? Let's take a step back. First of all, this is a huge thing in our community, but we have never actually defined what it is. Some people say shelf of shame, some people say shelf of opportunity. Why should I feel shame about it? Why should I feel excited about it? All those things. And it so I was like, you know what? Let's take a step back. Let's just make this a full on round table. Let's even break the format. Let's not go one and one and one. Let's just take 15 minutes and let's just talk about this. Like, I'm just intrigued to find out where each person is on, what you actually call it, how you view it, the games that you would consider to be on your shelf of shame, all of that.
Well,
Yeah.
if I may, I'm going to jump right in because I had a very shelf of shame moment, maybe the epitome of a shelf of shame moment. Just the other day, I had someone come over and they were looking at all my games like, wow, that's a lot of games. That is really cool. And they pulled down War of the Ring off the top of my shelf and they're like, yeah, this looks really cool. And I said, yeah, it's a really good game. And I go, I haven't played it yet, but I've heard it's really good. And they was like, well, you haven't played it yet, but it's really good. And it just like, I was just like, I felt embarrassed. I felt shame. I was like, yeah, I shouldn't have said it was really good because I guess I don't know, but I've heard it's really good and it's up there. And so, yeah, that was a shelf of shame moment for me.
I love that anecdote, Andy, because I kind of had the same moments where, like, my niece one time came to visit, and I said, I have so many board games, pick any of them, and I'll teach it, and we'll have a great time. She's like, great. She's like, what about that one? I was like, I don't know the rules for that one yet. She's like, oh, okay. What about this one? I was like, I don't know that one either. I was like, can I just pick out the game? And it was like this moment of like, oh, how do I explain to them that I don't play these games?
Daniel, in all fairness, that could have been games that you played.
Well, I mean, fair. That's true.
But one thing I want to talk about, because we haven't hit this yet, and Chris pointed it out, is drives me nuts when people call it shelf of opportunity. I think Daniel once said the shelf of opportunity is at your friendly local game store. That's your shelf of opportunity. Yeah. That's a shelf of shame when you have it at home and you haven't
John,
played it.
I can't take your negative vibes. Take your negative energy
That's
elsewhere.
Right. It just sounds to me like a corporate thing, where they call people resources and they call, failures or opportunities. It's like, no, we failed.
Soylent Green is people. It's meeples.
Yeah, I know. Chris introduced the segment as saying we've never really defined what the shelf of shame is. No, Chris, we have defined what the shelf of shame is, but you got all these people out there who are like, let's redefine words and let's call it, instead of shame, let's say opportunity. And it's like, no, that's not what it was. It's the shelf of shame. Go come up with your own term. Don't take mine.
And don't use shelf anymore. That's an out-of-date term. I call it a board that holds things.
I like it.
All
right. That's fair.
Yeah, traditionally, when I think of shelf of shame, I think of games that I own that I have not yet played. A lot of times they're still in shrink, and I may have owed them for years, and I haven't played them yet. And it's like, well, what the heck is wrong with you? My wife constantly says, and you need to just have a rule that you can't get new games until you've played all the games you've owned. Which I know. It sounds like insanity to us, but yeah. So
what you're going to say, my wife says all the time, what the heck is wrong with you?
Yeah. What the heck is wrong with you?
She does. It's just unrelated.
That's right. But the other thing that shelf of shame could mean, and I thought about this too, is it could mean sometimes I look at my shelf and I look it all over and I go, yeah, I don't really want to play that. Yeah, I don't really want to play that. I go, why do I own these games if my immediate feeling is, ugh, I don't want to play that. Yeah. If that's the case, why do I own this thing? That's kind of a shaming thing, right?
Yeah.
So this is perfect. This is what I'm talking about. What actually is the shelf of shame? Yes, I agree with you, Daniel, that it's the games that we own that we haven't played that's been there for years. Yes, that is the actual correct terminology, right? But people try to take a different direction. But this makes me think we need to have a new segment we can do in the future. Our shelf of shame. Which games do you actually own that you're ashamed to own because you don't even like them?
I gotcha.
But you're, because of our attachment to these games that we have, right? We spent money on them or whatever investment we have in them, we still haven't let them go. Like, I think we should actually give it like, what are your top, I own these and I don't know why I do. I shouldn't.
Well, I've got something even worse than a shelf of shame, actually. I've got a closet of shame.
That's great.
Take
Whenever
what
we
you
go
want.
to Andy's house, we always go home with a game, and he just doesn't want anymore. He's like, "Here, take this home."
The stuff in the closet of shame doesn't even make it on the shelf because it's like I really don't want to own this. So I put it in the closet.
So guys, since one of the topics we were supposed to talk about too is like the game that was longest on our shelf, I do want to pull mine out because one, I need help. I need help, guys. This game came out in 2014, and I think I bought it new. I think I got it in 2015. So this is 9 years of Shelf of Shame. And it's this game right here. The Battle for Kimball's Cascade. Have you guys even heard of this game?
No.
So it's literally countless times. I don't remember ever seeing that
either.
Did you just make this up?
There. I
feel like this is like something he printed off. He's
no, this is legitimate. It's like
John's
Space
Believe It or Not
Invaders
segment.
It's Space Invaders the game. You're these ships and you are attempting to go and destroy the aliens that are coming down. And the gimmick of this game is that it has little boards that you pull out and you put back to the top to push the rest of it down. So you're always cycling through, and just like is it asteroids? No. What did I just say? Space Invaders. Like it's always everything's coming down at you, and you kind of go up, but you keep pushed down. I don't know. Very clever game. I really want to play it, but it's been on my shelf for 9 years.
At this point, you don't want to break the streak, so it's like
that's true.
I mean, I am a Cubs fan, so I am used to long streaks, but I would like to get this one done before 100 years.
It may eventually become valuable.
Nah.
Probably.
Is it still in shrink?
It's not. I tried to read the rules once. That's why it's open.
Tried to. The key word there.
What's something on your shelf of shame, John?
Well, I've got a couple of them here presented that you might be able to see. I've been pointing at the Fox experiment, and you can't see that one, but I have a couple of them here. I've got Come Together. Chris might remember how anxious I was to buy this last year at Gen Con.
Is that a Beatles game?
It's kind of got that theme. It's you're making your own summer music festival. And so everybody's putting together some music festival. You're trying to get acts, trying to build your stage. You have to advertise, and it's worker placement. It's a game that I'm really excited to play. And I'm worried about how I'm going to teach it because it's a little bit wonky how you put the little boards out and all that. But I think once I get going with it, it would be pretty simple to do. But haven't gotten it out yet. I need to do it like a 2-player with somebody and just, get the rules down real well. The other one I got over here is Cape May, which I want to say 3 years ago. That might be the longest one on my shelf of shame. And I poured over it several times and learned the rules, but just never broke it out. I don't know why. I think it's more, I'm afraid people aren't going to like it. So I just kind of leave it there, but it's got really cool components to it. And it's kind of historical. It's about Cape May, where you're building different houses on it. You're trying to make a really historical, cool house on Cape May and make it worth a lot by the end of the game. And so
I want the Marvel theme, Aunt May.
Aunt May, that'd be good.
Yeah.
So John, you hit it right on the head there. And like, I'm going to be honest, my collection is basically just a collection of shame because I am too worried that people are not going to like it just because overall I'm too worried that I'm going to try to teach the game and not do a good job, and because I didn't teach it, they're not going to like it. And so like I have all this like presenting anxiety about my board games that it's a collection of shame because I never actually bring my games and be like, listen guys, we're going to play this and feel confident about it. Now there are, broad strokes here, and I like to give Daniel crap that one year I couldn't even do it in the first place because we had to play his games. But that aside, even that joke aside, like literally, like that really is like this prison that I am in of like worrying that I have bought this game. I'm so excited about it. I'm going to show it to people and they're not going to like it. And that's going to like defeat me even more than just not playing at all. And at least it's on the shelf of like, it's like an opportunity that it could be awesome. But if I take it off and show it to people, they don't like it. Now it's for sure known that it's not liked. I mean, maybe that says a lot about me as a person. I don't know, but
it's like Schrodinger's cat, Schrodinger's board game. It's both good and bad, but you don't know until you open it.
Yeah.
So if we were to turn Shelf of Shame into a game itself, what would get you the most shame points? Because here's what I'm thinking, right? I think it would be less shame points if it's a game nobody's heard of like you have, Daniel, and more shame points if it's a really good game that people love and it still sits on their shelf and you've never played it. Because that's a lot of shame. So I feel like I had that with War for the Ring, and what do you got there? Glenmore 2. That's a great game. You haven't played it. Still in shrink.
Nope. This was my COVID game. I bought it to support my local game store before COVID, before they shut down. Still in shrink.
That is shameful. That is very shameful.
I'll give you a pass on War of the Ring though, because I never actually played it, but it seems like there's a lot of rules overhead and stuff like that, and it's only a 2-player game, and it's long, and so all those qualifiers together, it makes it hard to get those to the table. Now, usually though, the upside of those is if you do hit the table, it's probably hitting the table all the time over and over because you found another person that's willing to learn a lot of rules and play a long game. So like if you hit all 3 of those qualifiers, you actually probably found someone to play with it over and over and over with, but it's hard to hit that number. So
now I will say too, despite John and his like making fun of people for wanting to turn things positive, I would like to turn this segment a little positive, okay? So I would like to, since there was no defining what this segment is, I would like to brag about how I've made a dent in my shelf of shame just a little bit recently. So I did make a dent. I got Gaia Project to the table, and it was really good. It was really fun. I need to get you guys to play it because I'd never played Terra Mystica. I'd never played what's the other one that's come? There's a couple that have come out since then, right?
The newest ones is Age of Innovation.
Age of Innovation, right? I haven't played those. I hadn't played any of them, but Gaia Project, I was having fun. I was digging it. Terra Nova. Okay, there's another one. So I made a dent with that one, and so I know that I want to keep that one. I also made a dent with another game that I don't know that I want to keep, and it was a really cheesy game, and it was called CTRL or Control. It's a game that it looks like little Lego pieces, and it's like area control kind of, and you're just adding Lego pieces on. It's very abstract. It's a silly little game, but it'd been on my shelf for probably 4 years, and finally got that played, and so now I can get rid of that chaff. But yeah. So what's something you guys have made a dent in recently with your shelf of shame?
I've increased.
I don't know.
I haven't made a dent in mine.
I win.
Yes,
Okay.
you do. You win that.
Okay.
Well, you're not supposed to ask us questions, Andy. I wasn't prepared for that.
Exactly.
Sucker.
I think we all just lost a point, so maybe that's Randy telling us that it's time for us to move it along.
Maybe.
Well, I don't see the red screen, so.
No, that's fair.
You know
Anyways,
what?
though, that's true. He didn't put the red screen. That's on Andy. Here we go. We're keeping going.
Yeah.
No.
Well, here, I will say this.
This segment of the station. What do you got?
This will make Randy happy. This is kind of hitting in my shelf of shame. The game wasn't on my shelf anymore, but I owned it in the 80s and borrowed it from Randy to play because I'm going to talk about it on a little one-off video, and that is Axis and Allies. So there we go. I played Axis and Allies with my son a couple times. I never got it played when I owned it back in the 80s. So
I think
he just gave you a point for that. Shenanigans. That wasn't even on topic.
It wasn't 3 points.
I think the worst offense of the shelf of shame may be when you have something there for a long period of time and you end up and you paid money for it, good money, like you'd said, Daniel, you paid it and bought that game new, you said 9 years ago or whatever, and you end up just giving it away without ever even trying it. That is like the most shameful thing in the world.
Been there.
Okay, since I lost 2 points, I do want to point out, I was holding my tongue, but I gotta say this. Chris, you said your whole game shelf is a shelf of shame. I was thinking to myself, well, that's a weird thing to call your game shelf because that's what I call Randy's game shelf is his shelf of shame. Why do you have those games? You have that one? Really? Oh, geez. So that's a cute little nickname I give him.
My entire shelf.
There
My
goes the
entire
score.
shelf is a shelf of opportunity.
Awesome. All right. Well, so I want to know what our people have to say. Tell us in the comments, like, what is your definition of the shelf of shame? Has it changed based on what we talked about? What's on it, and what, like Andy said, what have you recently got rid of? Let us know in the comments, and make sure you subscribe.
And let us know if we can turn it into a game in the future, somehow, some sort of gimmick or something.
There's got to be something here. We got to figure something out.
Absolutely.
Thank you for watching this clip from Around the Board. If you'd like to watch the full episode, please click on the link down below. Around the Board is essentially a game show featuring 4 board game enthusiasts that discuss board game topics and news in a competitive format. Whoever wins gets to talk about whatever he wants at the end of the show. So please join us, won't you, Around the Board?